I stood in the observation room at the Thai Economic Crime Suppression Division headquarters in Bangkok, watching through one-way glass as Phonika Mayura Ratanawat was being interrogated. She was 26 years old, elegant in a designer dress, and desperately trying to maintain her composure as officers presented evidence of her crimes. 3 months earlier, this woman had destroyed my son's life. She'd extracted 155,000 Australian dollars from him over 18 months through an elaborate wedding planning scam. She'd convinced him they were building a life together, planning a beautiful ceremony, investing in their shared future. Then she'd emptied his bank account while he slept and disappeared, leaving him broken and suicidal. My son Elliot had called me from Thailand at 3 in the morning, Perth time, sobbing so hard I could barely understand him. "Dad, she's gone. Everything's gone. I have nothing left. I don't want to live anymore." That phone call activated something in me I thought I'd left behind when I retired from the Australian Tax Office Counter-Fraud Division 3 years earlier. For 25 years, I'd investigated financial criminals, people who lied, manipulated, and stole through sophisticated schemes. I'd built cases that sent dozens of fraudsters to prison. But this was different. This wasn't just another case file. This was my son. I'd flown to Thailand within 72 hours. I didn't confront Mayura. I didn't threaten or demand. I did what I'd spent a quarter-century perfecting. I investigated. Quietly, methodically, thoroughly. I discovered she wasn't just a scammer. She was running an organized wedding industry fraud ring that had already destroyed 9 foreign men before my son. She used fake contracts, staged photo shoots, forged Buddhist marriage certificates, and a network of accomplices to create elaborate illusions of legitimacy. She stored all her incriminating files on Google Drive, thinking they were safe. She was wrong. I didn't hack anything. I simply guessed her backup password using basic behavioral analysis, the same techniques I'd used to crack fraud cases for decades. Her password was the name of her favorite Korean drama character. I downloaded everything. Every fake invoice, every fraudulent contract, every message to other victims, every bank transfer, every piece of evidence of systematic fraud spanning 3 years. I compiled it into a 74-page dossier with an evidence index, timeline analysis, victim statements, and financial flow documentation. Then I walked into the Economic Crime Suppression Division and handed them the most complete fraud case they'd ever received from a civilian. Now, as I watched Mayura realize she was going to prison, I felt no satisfaction, just cold determination. She'd thought foreign men were easy marks. She thought she could destroy my son without consequences. She was wrong. My name is Harvey Marwood. I'm 61 years old, a retired counterfraud investigator from Perth, Australia. And this is how a Thai wedding planner destroyed my son and how I destroyed her right back. If you've been enjoying the stories I tell, please consider hitting the subscribe button. Your support is crucial for the growth of this channel and helps me dedicate time to making these videos despite my commitment to a full-time job. Thank you for being here. To understand why I was so effective at destroying Mayura's operation, you need to understand who I was before this happened. I spent 25 years as a counter-fraud investigator for the Australian Tax Office, building cases against sophisticated financial criminals. I knew every scam, every manipulation tactic, every lie. But I couldn't protect my own son from falling in love. I was born in Perth in the early 60s, grew up in a working-class suburb. My father was a dock worker. My mother worked in a laundromat. I was good at mathematics and patterns, got into university, studied accounting and law. After graduation, I joined the Australian Tax Office in their compliance division. I started in basic tax audits, but quickly moved to fraud investigation. Turned out I had a talent for it, could spot inconsistencies in financial records, recognize patterns in fraudulent behavior, build comprehensive cases that held up in court. By my 30s, I was leading major fraud investigations involving millions of dollars. The work was fascinating. Financial criminals are often intelligent people who found sophisticated ways to steal. Tax evasion schemes, money laundering operations, identity fraud rings. Each case was a puzzle to solve, a system to dismantle. I married young, met my wife Sandra when I was 28. She was a primary school teacher, practical and warm, exactly what I needed to balance my analytical coldness. We had one child, Elliot, born when I was 27. Elliot was our only child, and we poured everything into raising him. He was a sweet kid, emotionally sensitive, wore his heart on his sleeve. Nothing like me. Where I was analytical and reserved, he was emotional and impulsive. Where I questioned everything, he trusted everyone. Sandra worried about that. He's too soft, she'd say. Too trusting. Someone's going to take advantage of him. She was right to worry. Elliot struggled in school, not academically, but socially. He was the kid other kids picked on. Too sensitive, too eager to please, too desperate for approval. As a teenager, he had a series of relationships with girls who clearly used him, borrowed money they never repaid, expected him to pay for everything, moved on to other boys when they got bored. I tried to teach him to be more discerning, to recognize manipulation. But Elliot couldn't see it. He'd fall in love instantly, believe every word, ignore every red flag. After school, he got into marine engineering, good career, steady work on offshore vessels servicing oil platforms. Similar to what I'd done in fraud, investigation, technical work, problem solving, long periods away from home. He was good at it, earned well, had stable employment, but his personal life remained chaotic. Bad relationships, impulsive decisions, constantly getting hurt by women who saw his kindness as weakness. Sandra passed away when Elliot was 28, breast cancer, diagnosed late, gone within 6 months. Her death devastated both of us, but especially Elliot. He'd been close to his mother, and losing her left him even more desperate for emotional connection. I retired from the tax office when I was 58, after 25 years of service. I'd built hundreds of cases, sent dozens of criminals to prison, recovered millions in stolen funds. I was respected, successful, ready for a quiet retirement in Perth. I thought my fraud investigation days were behind me. I was wrong. In early 2023, when Elliot was 33, he made a decision that would destroy his life. He joined a Facebook group called Thai Western Love Stories. Elliot had become interested in Thailand after working on vessels in Southeast Asian waters. He'd visited Bangkok on shore, leave a few times, liked the culture, found Thai people friendly and welcoming. But more than that, he'd internalized the toxic idea that Western women were too demanding, too independent, too difficult, and that Asian women were more traditional, more appreciative, more loving. I tried to warn him. Mate, that's a fantasy. Thai women aren't different from Australian women. They're people, not stereotypes. And anyone specifically targeting foreign men online is usually after money. He didn't listen. Said I was being cynical, that not everyone was a scammer, that he deserved to find love somewhere. He posted in that Facebook group with photos of himself, decent-looking bloke. Fit from physical work, genuine smile. Within hours, he had dozens of messages from Thai women. Most were obviously fake profiles, model-quality photos, broken English, immediate requests to chat on WhatsApp. But one message stood out. It came from a woman named Mayura who wrote in perfect English, "Your smile looks kind." Not many men smile like that. Most men here just look hungry. Elliot was immediately hooked. He showed me the message excitedly. "See, Dad? She's different. She's articulate. She's not pushing for anything. She just noticed something genuine about me." I looked at her profile. Professional photos, but not model quality. She described herself as an international wedding planner based in Bangkok. Her profile showed images of luxury hotels, elaborate ceremonies, happy couples. She claimed to have studied hospitality management, to come from a conservative Buddhist family in Nakhon Pathom, to want a Western husband for stability and cultural exchange. It looked legitimate. Too legitimate. Professional scammers don't use obvious fake profiles. They build convincing personas. Just be careful, I told Elliot. Don't send money. Don't make promises. Get to know her slowly. He agreed. But within weeks, they were video calling daily. Within months, Elliot was talking about visiting Thailand. Within 6 months, he was talking about moving there permanently. "She's amazing, Dad," he'd say. "She's intelligent, ambitious, kind. She understands me in a way no one else ever has. She doesn't judge me for being emotional. She says my sensitivity is a strength, not a weakness." She was telling him exactly what he needed to hear. Classic manipulation technique. Identify the marks and insecurities, then validate them to build trust and dependence. By August, Elliot had quit his marine engineering job and moved to Thailand. He rented a condo in Hua Hin, a beach town south of Bangkok where Mayura claimed to have family connections. He had about 210,000 Australian dollars in savings, about 3.6 million baht accumulated from years of offshore work. I tried one more time to stop him. Elliot, you've known this woman 6 months, only online. You're giving up a good career to move to a country where you don't speak the language, for a relationship that exists mostly through screens. Please reconsider. Dad, you don't understand. This is real. We're planning our wedding. We're building a life together. I'm not going to let fear stop me from being happy. He moved in September. For the first few months, he seemed genuinely happy. He'd video call me from beaches, from temples, from restaurants, with Mayura beside him looking elegant and devoted. They seemed like a real couple, building a real life. Then the financial requests started. The first major expense was the wedding ceremony itself. Mayura explained that Thai weddings were elaborate, expensive affairs, especially for someone like her, from a respected family, with social standing in the wedding planning community. We need to have a proper ceremony, she told Elliot in a video call I witnessed. My family expects it. My business associates expect it. If we have a small, cheap wedding, people will think I'm marrying a poor Farang who can't take care of me. It will damage my reputation and my business. The proposed budget was 480,000 baht, about 10,600 Australian dollars. That included venue rental at a luxury hotel in Bangkok, catering for 200 guests, traditional Buddhist ceremony, photography, decorations, everything. Elliot called me for advice. Dad, is that a reasonable cost for a wedding? In Australia, yes. $10,000 for a proper wedding was actually modest. But in Thailand, I wasn't sure. Exchange rates made things complicated. Have you seen the venue? Have you met with the vendors? Have you signed actual contracts? I asked. Mayura is handling everything. She's a wedding planner. This is literally her profession. She knows all the best vendors, gets professional discounts, can negotiate better than I ever could. I want to see contracts, Elliot. Before you transfer that money, I want to see signed agreements with legitimate businesses. Mayura provided contracts. They looked official, printed on letterhead from a Bangkok luxury hotel, signed by an events manager, detailed breakdown of costs. Everything appeared legitimate. I still had doubts, but I couldn't identify anything specifically wrong. Maybe I was being overly paranoid. Maybe Mayura was genuine and I was seeing scams where none existed. Elliot transferred 480,000 baht in October. Next came the sinsad, the traditional Thai dowry. Mayura explained that her family expected a substantial dowry to show Elliot could properly support her. My family is traditional, she said. My father wants to see that you're serious, that you can take care of me. The dowry isn't a payment for me, it's a display of respect and capability. After the ceremony, some families return part of the dowry to the couple, but the amount displayed matters for face. The expected sinsad was 600,000 baht, about 13,000 Australian dollars. That seems very high, I told Elliot when he mentioned it. I've read about Thai dowries. For most families, they're much smaller, sometimes symbolic. But Mayura comes from a respected family, Elliot argued. Her father is a successful businessman. Her family has social standing. This isn't a village wedding. This is a wedding between families with status. The justification sounded reasonable, but my investigator instincts were screaming warnings. Elliot transferred 600,000 baht in November. Then came the property investment. Mayura found what she described as an incredible opportunity, a beach villa in Hua Hin that was being sold by a family who needed quick cash. Prime location, beautiful views, below market value. If they put down a deposit now, they could secure it before others found out about it. This will be our home, Mayura told Elliot. Where we raise our family. Where we grow old together. And it's an investment. Property values in Hua Hin are rising. In 5 years, this villa will be worth double. The required deposit was 1,800,000 baht, about 40,000 Australian dollars. Elliot called me, excited. Dad, this is a great investment. Mayura knows the market. She's connected to property developers through her wedding business. This is the kind of opportunity that doesn't come along often. Elliot, foreigners can't own land in Thailand. Have you verified how the title will work? Have you seen actual ownership documents? Have you hired a lawyer to review the purchase agreement? Mayura's family lawyer is handling everything. She knows what she's doing. Hire your own lawyer. Independent verification. Before you transfer $40,000, get independent legal advice. He promised he would, but I don't think he ever did. He transferred 1,800,000 baht in December. By January, 7 months after moving to Thailand, Elliot had spent nearly 3 million baht, about 66,000 Australian dollars, on wedding ceremony, dowry, and property deposit. Then, Mayura mentioned her business expansion opportunity. In February, Mayura told Elliot about an opportunity to expand her wedding planning business. A prestigious Bangkok hotel group was looking for preferred vendors for their wedding packages. If Mayura could secure a spot, she'd handle weddings for wealthy international clients, dramatically increasing her income and reputation. But securing the vendor relationship required upfront investment, professional website redesign, marketing materials, insurance bonds, licensing fees. Total cost, 700,000 baht, about 15,000 Australian dollars. This is our future, Mayura explained to Elliot. Right now, I do small weddings, local clients, modest income. But if I become a preferred vendor for luxury hotels, I'll be booking high-end international weddings. We're talking 100,000 baht commissions per event. This investment pays for itself within months. She presented a detailed business plan, showing projected income, client acquisition strategies, return on investment calculations. It looked professional, thorough, convincing. Elliot wanted to invest immediately, but he called me first, partly because he was running low on funds and partly, I think, because some part of him was starting to have doubts. Dad, this is a legitimate business opportunity. Mayura has shown me everything, the contract with the hotel group, the cost breakdown, the revenue projections. This isn't me just giving her money. This is us investing in our shared future. Have you verified the hotel contract is real? I asked. Have you contacted the hotel group directly? Have you seen proof they're actually seeking vendors? Mayura has shown me the contract. That's not verification. That's her showing you a document that could be fabricated. Call the hotel. Ask to speak to their events department. Verify independently. Dad, why do you keep assuming she's lying? Why can't you believe that I found someone genuine who actually loves me? That question hit me hard. Was I being overly paranoid? Was I so jaded from decades of investigating fraudsters that I couldn't accept that some people were honest? Or was I seeing what Elliot refused to see because he was too desperate for love to think critically? Just verify independently, I said. That's all I'm asking. One phone call to the hotel to confirm the vendor opportunity is real. He said he would. I don't know if he ever did. He transferred 700,000 baht in February. In addition to these major expenses, Elliot was also sending Mayura 40,000 baht monthly, about 880 Australian dollars, for what she called family support. Her parents needed help with medical expenses. Her younger brother needed university tuition. Family debts needed servicing. By March, 10 months after moving to Thailand, Elliot had spent approximately 3.6 million baht, about 79,000 Australian dollars, on wedding, dowry, property, business investment, and family support. He had about 1.5 million baht left in his Thai bank account, about 33,000 Australian dollars. Half his savings, gone. But he seemed happy. The wedding was scheduled for June. The villa purchase was supposedly progressing through legal channels. Mayura's business expansion was launching. They were building a life together. Then, in April, everything collapsed. I was asleep when my phone rang at 3 a.m, Perth time. I saw Elliot's name on the screen and answered immediately, knowing something was wrong. What I heard made my blood run cold. My son sobbing, not crying, but sobbing like a child, barely able to form words. Dad, she's gone. Everything's gone. I can't. I don't want to live anymore. I was fully awake instantly, adrenaline flooding my system. Elliot, where are you? Are you safe? What happened? He could barely speak. Between sobs, the story came out. He'd gone to bed the night before with Mayura beside him, like normal. They talked about wedding plans, about their future, about how excited her family was to meet him at the ceremony in June. He'd woken up alone. Mayura was gone. Her clothes were gone. Her belongings were gone. His phone was gone. She'd taken it while he slept. He'd checked his laptop. His Thai bank account, where he'd kept his remaining savings, the account Mayura had been added to for convenience in managing shared expenses, was empty. 1.4 million baht, about 31,000 Australian dollars, transferred out overnight to an account he didn't recognize. He'd tried calling Mayura from his laptop using a calling app. Number disconnected. Tried line messaging blocked. Tried Facebook profile deleted. Tried Instagram blocked. Tried email bounced back as undeliverable. She'd vanished, taken everything, blocked him completely, erased herself from his life as thoroughly as if she'd never existed. "I have nothing, Dad," Elliot said, his voice breaking. "No money, no phone, no girlfriend, no wedding, no villa, no future. She took everything. I gave her everything and she just took it all and left." "Where are you now?" I asked, forcing myself to stay calm and analytical. "At the condo. I don't know what to do. I can't afford rent next month. I don't have money for food. I have nothing." "Listen to me carefully. Go to the Australian Embassy in Bangkok. Today, tell them you're an Australian citizen who's been defrauded and needs help. They can provide emergency assistance. Can you do that?" "I guess. I don't know. I just want to die, Dad. I'm so stupid. You warned me. Everyone warned me. And I didn't listen. I gave her everything and she was lying the whole time." "You're not stupid. You're a victim of fraud. This is what these people do. They manipulate. They lie. They steal. This isn't your fault." But part of me was screaming inside. I knew. I fucking knew she was a scammer, and I couldn't stop him. "I'm flying to Thailand," I said. "Today, I'm going to help you sort this out. But first, I need you to do something for me. I need you to document everything, every transfer you made, every promise she made, every document she provided, every message you have saved, everything. Can you do that?" "What's the point? She's gone. The money's gone. It's over. The point is, we're going to make sure she faces consequences. I spent 25 years investigating fraudsters. I know how to build a case. Trust me. Document everything." After we hung up, I sat in bed next to my sleeping wife. I'd remarried a few years after Sandra passed and felt rage unlike anything I'd experienced in my career. Professional detachment was impossible. This wasn't a case file. This was my son. I booked a flight to Bangkok, leaving that afternoon. Packed a bag. Told my wife I'd be gone for at least a week, maybe longer. Kissed her goodbye and headed to the airport with one clear objective: find Mayura. Document her crimes. Destroy her completely. I landed in Bangkok 30 hours after Elliot's phone call. Took a taxi directly to Hua Hin, about 3 hours south. Arrived at Elliot's condo in the evening to find my son looking like a ghost, hollow-eyed, unshaven, 20 pounds lighter than when I'd last seen him. We hugged. He cried. I held him and let him cry, feeling a mix of heartbreak for his pain and fury at the woman who'd caused it. "I'm so sorry, Dad," he kept saying. "I'm so sorry. You were right. You warned me, and I didn't listen. Stop apologizing. We're going to fix this. But I need you to show me everything. Every document, every transfer, every message, everything you have." Over the next 3 hours, we went through Elliot's records. He'd kept good documentation, at least bank transfer confirmations, screenshots of conversations, the contracts Mayura had provided, photos of them together, everything. I reviewed it all with my fraud investigator's eye, and I started seeing patterns. "The venue contract for the wedding?" The letterhead looked official, but something about the fonts and formatting seemed off. The signature looked digitally inserted rather than actually signed. The property purchase agreement? The legal firm listed didn't appear in online searches of registered Thai law firms. The notary stamp looked suspicious. The business partnership contract with the hotel group? The hotel's actual website didn't mention any vendor partnership program. The email address on the contract was from a Gmail account, not the hotel's corporate domain. Every document Mayura had provided was sophisticated forgery, professional looking enough to fool someone who wasn't specifically trained to spot fraudulent documents. But to someone who'd spent decades investigating financial fraud, obviously fake. "She planned this from the beginning," I said. "Every document is fabricated. The wedding, the property, the business, none of it was real. This was a systematic fraud operation, not just an opportunistic girlfriend taking advantage." Elliot looked devastated. "So, even the wedding, we were never actually getting married? There was no wedding venue booked, no Buddhist ceremony arranged, probably no family expecting you. Everything was theater designed to extract money." I started building an investigation timeline on my laptop. September. Elliot arrives in Thailand. Moves into Hua Hin condo. October. Wedding ceremony payment, 480k baht. November. Sin sod payment, 600k baht. December. Property deposit, 8 meters baht, February. Business investment, 700k baht. February to April. Monthly family support, 40k baht times 3 months. April. Final account emptying, 1.4 meters baht. Total documented loss, 5.1 million baht, approximately 112,000 Australian dollars. Wait, that was more than I'd thought. Elliot's initial savings were 210,000 Australian dollars. He'd sent home about 50,000 before moving to Thailand, leaving about 160,000 for his Thailand life. But the documented losses exceeded that. Did you borrow money? I asked. Or use credit cards? Elliot looked ashamed. I took out a personal loan in March, $50,000. The bank approved it based on my employment history. I told them I was investing in property in Thailand. Jesus Christ. He'd gone into debt for this woman. Okay, I said, forcing myself to stay calm. We're going to report this to Thai police. We're going to build a fraud case. And we're going to make sure Mayura pays for what she did. Dad, she's gone. We don't even know her real name. How are we going to find her? I smiled grimly. You know what I did for 25 years? I tracked down people who thought they'd covered their tracks perfectly. I found offshore accounts, hidden assets, fabricated identities. Mayura made a mistake. She thought you were just another dumb foreigner who'd be too ashamed to fight back. She didn't know your father spent a quarter century destroying people exactly like her. Over the next week, I investigated, and what I found was even worse than I'd expected. I started with the basics, everything Mayura had told Elliot about herself. Claimed to be from Nakhon Pathom. Claimed to be a wedding planner with a business registered in Bangkok. Claimed to have studied hospitality management. I contacted the Australian embassy in Bangkok and explained the situation. They connected me with a liaison officer who worked with Thai authorities on cases involving Australian citizens. He gave me contact information for the Economic Crime Suppression Division, Thailand's specialized unit for investigating financial crimes. But before going to Thai authorities, I wanted to build a comprehensive case. Police respond better to complete evidence packages than to emotional complaints from victims. I started with Mayura's business claims. She'd said she ran a wedding planning company called Mayura Events International. I searched Thai business registrations. No such company existed. No business license under that name. No tax registration. Her Instagram account was deleted, but Elliot had screenshots. I analyzed the photos she'd posted: luxury hotel venues, elaborate ceremonies, happy couples. Using reverse image search, I found the sources. Half were stock photos from wedding photography websites. The other half were images stolen from actual Thai wedding planners' portfolios. Her entire professional identity was fabricated. Next, I analyzed the forged documents. The wedding venue contract claimed to be from the Mandarin Oriental Bangkok. I called their events department directly, explained I was investigating a potential fraud, asked if they had any record of booking under Elliot's name or any vendor named Mayura Events. They had no record. Moreover, their actual contracts looked completely different from what Mayura had provided. The property purchase agreement listed a law firm called Siam Property Legal Associates. No such firm existed in Thai lawyer registrations. I called several legitimate Thai property lawyers, showed them the document. They immediately identified it as fake, wrong legal terminology, incorrect format, non-existent notary credentials. Every document was sophisticated forgery. Someone with graphic design skills had created official-looking documents that would fool a layperson but wouldn't withstand professional scrutiny. Then I found something interesting. The forged documents all had metadata digital information embedded in PDF files showing when and where they were created. I extracted the metadata using forensic tools I'd learned to use in tax fraud investigations. All documents were created by the same computer using Adobe Photoshop and InDesign by a user named Pract Design. The creation date showed they'd been made just days before being provided to Elliot, not months earlier, as legitimate contracts would have been. I searched online for Pract Design, found a Facebook profile for a graphic designer named Prakrit Ratanawat, based in Bangkok. His portfolio included wedding invitations, business logos, event posters, and in his Facebook friends list, Phonika Mayura Ratanawat. Same last name, probably cousins or siblings. I'd found her accomplice, the person creating the forged documents. Next, I needed to find Mayura herself. Elliot had photos of them together. I used facial recognition search tools, not perfect, but sometimes effective. I found a Facebook profile under the name Phonica Ratanawat that matched Mayura's face. The profile was set to private, but the profile picture and cover photo were visible. The profile was still active. She hadn't deleted it, probably because it wasn't connected to her scam identity. I created a fake Facebook profile, middle-aged Western man, generic photos, claimed to be planning to move to Thailand, sent Phonica a friend request. She accepted within hours. Once I had access to her profile, I saw everything. Photos of her at luxury events, at rooftop bars, at five-star hotels. Photos with multiple Western men at different times, probably other victims. Check-ins at expensive Bangkok locations. She was living a lifestyle funded by fraud. And she was careless enough to document it publicly. I also found her Instagram account under her real name. Same thing, luxury lifestyle, designer clothes, expensive restaurants. And in her Instagram bio, event planner, Bangkok, DM for bookings. She was still running the scam, probably had new victims already lined up. I needed more evidence. I needed to find her previous victims, prove this was systematic fraud, not just a bad relationship gone wrong. That's when I made my biggest discovery. I was analyzing Mayura's social media activity when I noticed something. Several of her Instagram posts included links to a Google Drive folder labeled Portfolio. The link was set to public. Anyone with the URL could access it. I opened it, found a folder with hundreds of wedding photos, supposedly her work as a planner. But as I examined them, I recognized many as the same stolen images from her Instagram. This wasn't a real portfolio. This was part of her scam presentation. But Google Drive has a feature most people forget about: recently viewed files. If someone views a file from a shared folder, there's sometimes breadcrumb metadata showing related files they've accessed. I dug deeper into the Google Drive's sharing settings. Mayura had shared the portfolio folder publicly, but she had other folders visible to people she'd specifically shared with. Using some technical workarounds, examining URLs, trying common folder naming patterns, I found another folder, Client Files. This folder wasn't publicly accessible, but I needed to see it. That's where evidence would be. I couldn't hack it, that would be illegal and inadmissible, but I could try to guess her password using social engineering. In 25 years of fraud investigation, I'd learned that most people use predictable passwords based on personal information. I reviewed everything I knew about Mayura. Her Instagram showed obsession with Korean dramas, dozens of posts about K-drama actors, plot commentary, fan art. Her favorite seemed to be a show called Goblin. She posted constantly about the main character, Goblin, Kim Shin. I tried logging into her Google account using Elliot's laptop, didn't want to use my own computer in case she had security alerts. Email, phonicaratnawat@gmail.com. Found in the metadata of forged documents. Password attempts, Goblin123. Wrong. Kim Shin. Wrong. Goblin Kim Shin. Wrong. Goblin 2023. Wrong. I had limited attempts before the account would lock. I thought about Korean drama fan psychology. What would a obsessed fan use? My Goblin. Wrong. Love Goblin. Wrong. One more attempt before lockout. I tried. Goblin 1004. October 4th when the show premiered. The account opened. I was in. I immediately went to Google Drive, found the Client Files folder, and what I found inside made me realize this was so much bigger than just Elliot. Inside the Client Files folder were subfolders labeled with men's names, Western names. I counted them. 9 folders in total, plus a 10th labeled Current, Elliot. I opened the folders systematically and found complete fraud operation files for each victim. Folder 1, Michael, USA. Timeline, 2020 to 2021. Total extracted, 2.8 million baht. Method, wedding scam, plus fake property investment. Status, victim returned to America. No contact. Folder 2, James, UK. Timeline, 2021. Total extracted, 1.5 million baht. Method, business partnership, scam. Status, victim filed police report but no evidence. Case dropped. Folder 3, Hans, Germany. Timeline: 2021 to 2022. Total extracted: 3.2 million baht. Method: wedding plus property plus business investment. Status: victim threatened legal action, paid 500k baht to settle and go away, and so on. 9 previous victims. Total documented fraud: approximately 23 million baht, about 500,000 Australian dollars over 4 years. Each folder contained the same types of files: victim profile documents with personal information, forged contracts customized for each victim, bank transfer records, message transcripts showing manipulation tactics, photos of staged relationships, planning notes discussing how to extract maximum money before disappearing. The planning notes were particularly damning. Voice memos of Mayura and presumably her cousins discussing victims. Foreign men are easy. Cry a little, smile a little. They give everything. We need to move faster on the Australian. He's asking too many questions. Empty the account before he gets suspicious. The German wants to meet my family. We'll use Uncle Somchai and Aunt Noi again. Pay them 10k baht to pretend. Every aspect was calculated, rehearsed, optimized for maximum extraction. I also found files showing the money trail. Mayura had multiple bank accounts. Money from victims would flow into her main account, then quickly distribute to an account labeled Prakrit, her cousin the graphic designer, an account labeled Sum, probably another cousin helping with the scam, an account labeled Expenses, cryptocurrency purchases, probably to hide assets. They weren't just scamming, they were operating an organized fraud ring with defined roles and profit sharing. I downloaded everything, every folder, every file, every image, every document, mirrored the entire drive to my external hard drive. Then I did something I'd learned in tax fraud investigations. I created an evidence index, a comprehensive document listing every piece of evidence, organized by type and victim with summary analysis. The index included executive summary of the fraud operation, victim timeline showing systematic pattern, financial analysis showing money flows, document forgery, evidence with technical analysis, communication evidence showing intent and planning, accomplice identification and roles, asset identification for potential seizure. By the time I finished, I had a 74-page dossier with evidence appendix. It looked like the comprehensive fraud reports I used to prepare for prosecutors. It was the most complete fraud case file I'd ever built, and I'd built it in 7 days. Now I needed to get it to Thai authorities. And I needed to make sure Mayura was arrested before she could destroy evidence or flee. I contacted the Economic Crime Suppression Division in Bangkok and requested a meeting with their fraud investigation unit. Explained I was a retired Australian fraud investigator whose son had been victimized by an organized scam ring, and I had comprehensive evidence to present. They scheduled a meeting for the following Monday. I flew to Bangkok, arrived at their headquarters with my laptop and external drives, and was directed to meet with Colonel Surasak, head of their Financial Crimes Division. I handed him a USB drive containing my full dossier and said, "I have documented evidence of an organized wedding fraud operation targeting foreign nationals. 10 confirmed victims, 23 million baht stolen, 4 years of systematic fraud, multiple accomplices. Everything is indexed and cross-referenced." Colonel Surasak plugged in the USB, opened the dossier, and started reading. His expression grew increasingly serious as he reviewed the executive summary, the victim timeline, the evidence index. After about 15 minutes, he looked up. "This is extraordinary documentation. Most fraud victims come with emotional complaints and scattered bank records. You have given us prosecutor-ready evidence. How did you compile this?" "I was a counter-fraud investigator for Australian Tax Office for 25 years. This is how I built cases professionally. When my son was victimized, I investigated using the same methods." "Did you access the suspect's accounts illegally?" "I used social engineering to guess her Google Drive password. Arguably unauthorized access, but the drive contained evidence of ongoing crimes against my son, which could constitute lawful self-help investigation. That's for you and prosecutors to determine admissibility." He nodded. "In Thailand, evidence of ongoing fraud obtained by victims is generally admissible. We will proceed with this." Over the next hour, I walked Colonel Surasak and 2 other investigators through the entire case, showed them the pattern of 10 victims, explained the forgery evidence, identified the accomplices, traced the money flows. "Do you know where the primary suspect is currently located?" Colonel Surasak asked. "Yes, according to her Facebook check-ins, she's in Bangkok. She was at a rooftop bar in Sukhumvit 2 nights ago. Her Instagram shows she has what looks like a new victim, Western man, probably German based on the caption language. She's posted photos of them at various luxury locations over the past 3 weeks. I showed them the Instagram post. The investigators immediately recognized the pattern, same manipulation tactics, same luxury venue staging, same romance performance. She's actively running another scam right now," one investigator said. "If we move quickly, we can catch her in the act, which strengthens the case." They decided to execute an arrest operation within 48 hours. They'd surveil Mayura's known locations, identify when she was meeting with her new victim, and arrest her publicly to maximize evidence of fraudulent activity in progress. They asked if I wanted to be present for the arrest. "As a courtesy to a foreign law enforcement colleague," Colonel Surasak said. "Yes," I said. "I want to see her face when she realizes she's finished." 2 days later, I sat in an unmarked van with Thai cybercrime officers, watching a luxury rooftop bar in Sukhumvit through surveillance equipment. Inside, Mayura was having cocktails with a Western man in his 50s, her new target. She looked elegant in a designer dress, smiling warmly, touching his arm affectionately, running the exact same scam she'd run on my son, on 9 other men before him. Professional, practiced, shameless. "We have visual confirmation," the officer monitoring surveillance said. "Subject is engaged in what appears to be romantic fraud activity with foreign national. Do we proceed?" Colonel Surasak, who was coordinating from headquarters, gave the order, "Proceed with arrest." 4 plainclothes officers entered the bar, approached Mayura's table calmly, showed badges, identified themselves as Economic Crime Suppression Division. Through the surveillance feed, I watched Mayura's face change confusion, then fear, then calculation. She smiled at the officers, started talking quickly in Thai, probably trying to explain this was a misunderstanding. They weren't buying it. One officer held up a tablet showing her photo from the dossier I'd prepared, with the words, "Fraud Suspect," visible. Mayura's expression changed to panic. She grabbed her phone, probably to delete files or warn her accomplices. An officer immediately took the phone from her hand. "Phonica Ratanawat, you were under arrest for fraud, forgery, identity deception, and conspiracy to commit financial crimes." They cuffed her hands behind her back. The German man at her table looked shocked, confused. Officers explained to him in English that the woman he'd been with was a fraud suspect, and they'd need his statement. As they escorted Mayura out of the bar, I stepped out of the surveillance van. We made eye contact for just a moment. She recognized me, Elliot's father, the man from the video calls months earlier when she'd been performing Devoted Girlfriend. Recognition. Then understanding. Then fury. She'd thought my son was an easy mark, emotional, trusting, isolated. She hadn't accounted for his father being a retired fraud investigator who'd spent a quarter-century destroying people exactly like her. Simultaneously, teams raided Prakrit's apartment and Som's location, seizing computers, phones, documents, forged materials. Both accomplices were arrested within the hour. All 3 were brought in for interrogation. Faced with the overwhelming evidence from my dossier, they confessed to everything. The trial was held in Bangkok Criminal Court in November. All 3 defendants, Mayura, Prakrit, and Som, were charged with multiple counts of fraud, forgery, identity deception, conspiracy to commit financial crimes, and violation of Computer Crimes Act. The prosecution's case was built entirely on my dossier. They presented the systematic pattern of 10 victims, the forged documents, the planning recordings, the money trails. I testified on the 3rd day, explaining how I'd investigated, how I'd compiled evidence, how I'd identified the fraud patterns. The prosecutors had me walk through my methodology, demonstrating to the court that this was professional investigation, not vigilante action. Elliot testified next, describing how he'd been targeted, how Mayura had manipulated him, how he'd lost everything. He broke down crying on the stand, describing the shame and devastation of realizing the woman he loved had been running a scam from the beginning. The German man from the rooftop bar testified too, explained that Mayura had convinced him to send her 80,000 baht for family medical emergency just days before her arrest. 2 other previous victims provided video testimony, one from the UK one from the US. Both described identical patterns of wedding scams, fake investments, and sudden disappearance. The most damaging evidence was Mayura's own voice recordings found in the Google Drive. The prosecution played excerpts of her and her accomplices discussing victims, planning manipulations, laughing about how easy foreign men were to scam. The judge's face grew increasingly stern as he listened to Mayura coldly discuss extracting money from emotional foreigners. Mayura's lawyer tried to argue that this was a cultural misunderstanding, that gift-giving in Thai foreign relationships was normal, that there was no criminal intent. But the forged documents destroyed that defense. You don't create fake contracts for legitimate relationships. The verdict came swiftly. Guilty on all counts for all 3 defendants. Sentencing was severe. Mayura received 6 years imprisonment with no suspension. Prakrit received 4 years as an accomplice. Some received 4 years as an accomplice. Additionally, all assets would be seized and liquidated. Shell company, Mayura Events International, which did exist as an unregistered entity, would be dissolved. They would be banned from operating any event planning or wedding services businesses for 10 years after release. They would be required to pay full restitution to all victims. The court ordered asset seizure of approximately 2.3 million baht from Mayura's accounts, about 50,000 Australian dollars. This would be distributed proportionally among the 10 documented victims. For Elliot, that meant recovering about 1.1 million baht, approximately 24,000 Australian dollars of the 5.1 million he'd lost. Not everything, not even half, but something. More importantly, Mayura's scam operation was destroyed. Her fake Instagram presence was deleted. Her Google Drive evidence was used to warn other potential victims. Her name and photo were circulated in expat warning forums across Thailand. As they led her out of the courtroom after sentencing, Mayura looked at me one final time. Not with anger anymore, just defeated recognition. She'd thought she could destroy my son without consequences. She'd been wrong. It's been 6 months since Mayura's sentencing. Elliot is back in Australia, living with me while he rebuilds his life. He got his marine engineering job back. His former employer was sympathetic, hired him back at reduced salary until he proves himself again. He recovered about $24,000 from the asset seizure. Combined with his remaining savings, he's slowly climbing out of the financial hole Mayura created. The $50,000 loan will take years to repay, but he's making payments. The emotional recovery is harder. Elliot suffers from trust issues, depression, anxiety. He's in therapy, working through the trauma of being systematically manipulated and financially destroyed by someone he loved. But he's alive. He's working. He's healing. That's what matters. We talk about what happened sometimes. He doesn't blame me for not stopping him, understands that he made his own choices, ignored warnings, let desperation override judgment. "I just wanted someone to love me," he said once, "and she made me believe she did." How do you spot a lie when it's exactly what you need to hear? I didn't have a good answer. That's what makes these scams so effective. They target vulnerabilities with surgical precision. Several other victims from Mayura's operation contacted me after the trial. Some thanked me for exposing her. Some were still too ashamed to talk publicly about what happened. One man said he'd been contemplating suicide before learning he wasn't alone, wasn't uniquely stupid, was just one of many victims of a professional criminal. That helped Elliot too, realizing he wasn't an idiot who fell for an obvious scam. He was a victim of sophisticated fraud operation run by someone who'd perfected manipulation over years of practice. I also received criticism. Some people thought I'd been vindictive, that I'd destroyed a young woman's life over a relationship gone wrong. Others said I was a controlling father who couldn't accept his son's choices. But most people understood. I was a father protecting his son, using skills I'd developed over decades to ensure a criminal faced justice. I don't regret anything I did. I followed the law, documented evidence properly, worked with authorities appropriately. I didn't hack systems illegally, didn't threaten anyone, didn't take vigilante action. I investigated professionally and let the justice system work. Mayura chose to run a fraud operation that destroyed 10 men's lives and extracted $500,000. She chose to forge documents, manipulate victims, operate a criminal conspiracy. She chose to target my son. She just didn't expect him to have a father who knew exactly how to build cases against people like her. I'm writing this at my home in Perth. watching Elliot work on job applications in the next room. He's rebuilding. Slowly, painfully, but rebuilding. If you're a father reading this because you're worried about your son's relationship, here's what I learned. You can't stop adult children from making mistakes. I warned Elliot. I questioned everything. I asked for verification. He didn't listen because he wanted to believe. Sometimes people need to learn hard lessons themselves, but you can be ready to help when disaster strikes. When Elliot called me broken and suicidal, I didn't say, "I told you so." I acted. Flew to Thailand, investigated, built a case, got justice. That's what fathers do. Document everything from the start. Even if you can't stop bad decisions, you can ensure there's evidence trail for later. Encourage your children to keep records, save messages, document transactions. Professional fraud is sophisticated. Mayura wasn't some bar girl opportunistically taking advantage. She ran an organized operation with accomplices, forged documents, systematic targeting. Don't underestimate scammers. Use your professional skills. Whatever expertise you have, apply it to protecting your family. My fraud investigation background let me build a prosecutor-ready case. Use whatever skills you have. Work with authorities properly. Don't try to confront scammers directly. Don't threaten. Don't take illegal action. Build evidence. Work with police. Let the system function. Vigilante justice creates more problems. Recovery takes time. 6 months later, Elliot still struggles emotionally. Financial recovery is slow. Healing isn't linear. Be patient with victims. If you're a son reading this because you're in a relationship your father questions, listen to warnings without getting defensive. Your father isn't trying to control you. He's trying to protect you. If multiple people question your relationship, maybe investigate why. Verify everything independently. Don't take your partner's word for contracts, investments, business opportunities. Hire independent lawyers. Call companies directly. Get external verification. Never put all your money at risk. Keep separate accounts. Set limits on what you'll invest. Don't go into debt for relationships. Financial independence protects you. Document everything. Save messages. Screenshot conversations. Keep transaction records. If something goes wrong, you'll need evidence. Report fraud immediately. Don't suffer in silence. Embarrassment helps scammers. Report to police. Contact your embassy. Warn other potential victims. I lost 6 months traveling to Thailand, investigating, testifying. Cost me thousands in flights, hotels, legal consultations. But I'd do it again in a heartbeat. Because my son is alive, recovering, and has a future. Mayura took his money, his dignity, and his trust. But she didn't destroy him completely, because his father refused to let that happen. If this story has helped you understand how organized wedding fraud operates and why family vigilance matters, please share it widely. These stories need to reach people before they become victims, and fathers before their sons make devastating mistakes. Remember, real love doesn't require constant financial investment. Real relationships withstand external verification. Real partners welcome questions and independent validation. Be vigilant for your children. Document everything. Work with authorities professionally, and never underestimate the sophistication of professional fraud operations. And if disaster strikes, act immediately because time is critical in fraud cases.